Rich Severson is a senior solutions engineer at Stratodesk, one of the leaders in endpoint management solutions worldwide. He's joined us today via Zoom to talk about Windows Virtual Desktop, the Raspberry Pi, and the new management solution for the ThinPrint Hub.
So Rich, could you maybe briefly introduce Stratodesk and just say a little bit more about what Stratodesk do?
Certainly. We get asked that quite often, as you might imagine, what does Stratodesk do and what makes Stratodesk unique? So basically, Stratodesk, we're the fastest growing endpoint OS and IoT endpoint OS manufacturer in the world, meaning that we have the ability to develop an operating system for end user computing endpoints as well as IoT devices. And those devices can be x86, x64, or ARM. So speaking of ARM, that obviously leads us into a little bit of why we're here today, right? It's talking about the integration between Stratodesk No Touch Center and the ThinPrint Hub, which of course is based on the Raspberry Pi.
Are you able to just sort of also talk about what Stratodesk is working on right now?
As you might imagine, in today's current environment with this time of year in 2020, in respect to the COVID, if you will, Stratodesk right now is spending a lot of time working on telecommuting, work from home, VPN, basically all the things that are involved with enabling the telecommuters or work from home users. So VPN, telecommunications, and interestingly enough, printing capabilities. Right now, one of our key focuses is we're actually integrating a new identity platform to be able to take greater advantage and more detailed control over what the users of No Touch Center, the administrators, can do, and include things such as SAML and multi-factor authentication, those kinds of things. So those are the things that we're working on immediately. We've got a couple other things that we're working on that I don't necessarily want to divulge right now, but certainly continuing our growth is keeping us busy enough.
Just bearing in mind also the recent developments, have you actually seen at Stratodesk a growth in demand for specific solutions or in specific vertical markets too?
Say our biggest growth right now has been in the telecommunications space. We have many customers that are call center environments. So certainly the ability to adapt and manage those globally, whether the call centers in the Philippines, in India, wherever those call centers may be, and to be able to manage those remotely. So certainly that is one aspect. Again, with all the work from home initiatives that are taking place, there's so many organizations that are trying to enable their employees to be able to do that. There's the lift and shift kind of thing where, hey, take your entire workspace, take it home with you. And certainly the ability to be able to have a secure operating system and a management platform to be able to do that. And that's kind of where we come in. And healthcare providers and finance obviously continue to be part of our core customer base as well.
Okay, so as we previously mentioned, ThinPrint and Stratodesk have been working together on a few projects. The ThinPrint Hub, one of our key solutions for helping branch offices deal with printing easier and to reduce printer servers, that runs on the Raspberry Pi hardware. In your words, what do you think? What are the strengths about this piece of hardware, about the Raspberry Pi, and particularly when it comes to thin clients? What makes the Raspberry Pi here such a good choice?
Well, I think it's one of those things that, initially the Raspberry Pi, everybody kind of thought of it as a toy or a development environment, those kinds of things. But as the Pi 3 and the Pi 3 Plus and now the Pi 4 has evolved, it's actually taken its own place as a true computing device. And obviously because of the low cost, but yet the capabilities of it, to be able to take the strength of something like No Touch OS, our operating system, put it on the Pi platform, and then integrate the different components, whether it be the VDI client side of it or the ThinPrint side of it, and make it a viable platform for either being a traditional thin client or the ThinPrint Hub to be able to manage printing environments. So it's taken a low-cost, solid, well-performing device and then adding an operating system to it to give it true value and be able to extend it and make it an enterprise computing platform.
That's some really good points. If we just sort of stick to printing right now as also, what relevance does printing have for Stratodesk customers? Can you think of any specific use cases that spring to mind?
When you're talking about in the corporate environment, right? Obviously, the ability to have centralized print servers and to be able to manage that from a central standpoint is important to be able to distribute what users have the ability or access to what printers for what printing capabilities. And that's important. And obviously, inside the infrastructure, it's easier to do when you can actually get to the printing. When you talk about the remote users, again, whether those remote users be in corporate facilities and remote locations, or even now in the work from home environment, where somebody may need to be able to print, to be able to take something like the ThinPrint Hub, give it to them, and be able to have control of the printing environment in addition to their endpoint is relatively important. Because certainly, depending on what the end user is doing, you've got to be able to control what they can and cannot print.
One final question. So from a ThinPrint point of view, one of the key technologies which has had a big impact on our business and has brought about a lot of change is Windows Virtual Desktop. How has that been for Stratodesk? Has Windows Virtual Desktop had some sort of impact on your key businesses?
So I think much like everybody else right now, everybody's seeing a dramatic growth in the WVD client or WVD utilization, right? I mean, how quickly can we take our users from being infrastructure users to being remote users, right? So there's a lot going around that right now. And we continue working with Microsoft regarding the WVD client. Certainly we have the capabilities of doing it today. There's some things that we need to enhance and to make it a stronger client, more capable, more beneficial to the end users. So we're still currently working with Microsoft to evolve what that's going to look like. We can do the basic WVD client today, but we obviously want to tighten it up and make, per our requirements internally, we want to have a better client experience. So we're working with Microsoft for some enhancements around that. But certainly WVD is a growing demand, and we expect it will be, and we're going to continue to develop and be able to support that as well.
Okay, then we're going to have to leave it at that, because if we start talking about Windows Virtual Desktop in more detail, we'll probably need another interview. Yeah, thanks very much, Rich Severson, for joining us today. It's been a very interesting discussion. Make sure you check out Stratodesk's website. There's lots of cool things going on over there. And of course, if you're interested in finding out more about the ThinPrint Hub or the management solution for the ThinPrint Hub, just make sure you check out one of the suggested videos on our channel. Thank you for watching.